Hello and welcome to part 1 of Actions. It's now time to take your productivity up a notch with this particular lesson on actions. And what we're going to do is we're going to create an action. And you're probably wondering what an action is. Well, an action is a set of commands or instructions that you provide Photoshop that will repeat those commands and actions for you automatically. Which is awesome because when we let Photoshop work for us, instead of us working Photoshop, we are thereby much more productive. So if you're editing an image, but you also have another set of images that are maybe at the same location with the same lighting, and you want to apply that specific edit to all the photos instead of doing it individually one at a time, what you can do is create or record a set of actions and then apply those same actions to the other set of photos. It makes life so much easier when you can repeat the same exact actions to get consistent results and do it much quicker versus doing it from scratch. All right, so here we have an image of a couple. And let me show you some other photos from this photo shoot. We have here 24 more images from the same location under the same lighting conditions. And if I want to edit this particular image here, but I also want to apply the same edit to all 24 images, I could either do it the easy way or the hard way. For example, I could spend 5 minutes editing this particular image. Maybe more, maybe less, but let's just say 5 minutes. Now, if I want to apply that same edit to all the other photos, it's going to take the same amount of time if I have to do each of those different editing steps manually for each photo. And it probably would take me longer because if I want to get the exact same edit, then I'm going to have to make notes about the edits that I'm creating for this particular image in order to transfer it to the other 24 images as well. So just to make things easier, let's say it takes 5 minutes per photo, and we're looking at another 23 photos at 5 minutes apiece. That's going to come out to 115 minutes, roughly 2 hours, to edit every single image with the exact same types of edits. Or I can record all the editing steps I'm taking for the first image and save it as an action. And then with one click to run the action, I can apply all of those editing steps to each photo. And instead of 2 hours, I could probably get it done in like 15 minutes, which is a huge time saver, especially if you have other sessions that you need to do that day. If you're a wedding photographer, maybe you have 2 weddings you need to do. If you are a portrait photographer, maybe you have 10 portrait sessions that you need to apply edits to 50 images or more. It's going to take you forever if you're going to do it one image at a time. So let me show you how this works. So what we're going to do is I'm going to edit this image, and this is just the basics. We're going to get into more about editing and how to edit in upcoming lessons and sections. But for now, I just want to show you how to record an action so you can see the power of this, so you can start utilizing this for yourself when you start editing your images. So if you want to follow along, go ahead and open up this image from the resources file that you downloaded, and we'll go ahead and go to the actions panel, which is right here. Now, if you don't see this, come up to Window and select Actions. Now, as you can see, there are a ton of different actions in here, and you're probably not going to see all of these because these are my own custom actions that I made for my own artwork and for other projects. So what you're going to see is completely different. All right, so the first step in creating an action is to create an action set. So come down here and click on this folder icon here and go ahead and give it a name. I'm just going to name it Action Part 1. Then we need to create an action. So what we're going to do is click on this icon here to create a new action. And then we go ahead and give this a name as well. And I'm just going to name this Edit Test. So an action set is basically a way to organize all your actions, and then that particular type of action within that set is saved underneath it. So as you can see, I have different action sets, and then within that set, I have a ton of different actions. So it's just a way to group and organize all your different actions. So once you name your action and click record, it's actually recording what you're doing in Photoshop. So if you go and open up another file, it's going to record that action to open up a specific file. Let's say you edit the white and black points of this image, then Photoshop is going to record that action or those steps that you took and save it as part of the action. So when you rerun it, it's going to apply those same edits. So let's go ahead and edit this image, and you'll have a better idea of how this works as we go throughout this lesson. Now, before you click record, I just want to give you a couple quick tips here before you do that. So right here, it says set. So you can actually record this action in a different set if you want to. So you don't have to create a new set from the get-go. You can create a new action and then place it in an existing set. The other thing you can do is you can apply a specific action to a function key. For example, if you click right here, it says F1 all the way to F19. So those are your function keys. So if you want to run this action with the keyboard shortcut of one of these function keys, you can do that. It's just a little easier and faster versus coming down here to the actions panel and then clicking the run button. And you can also further utilize other keyboard shortcuts as well by having to hold down your shift key and or the command key, and that increases the functionality or the number of function keys that you can actually use. So instead of being limited to 19, you would get a lot more by utilizing a shift key and or a command key. And you can also organize your actions with color labels, and it just makes it easier to have certain actions a specific color based on the type of action that it is, whether it's a specific type of edit or some other type of function that you're using as part of that action. So these are just ways to organize your actions and increase your productivity by adding some of these other functions as well. All right, let's go ahead and click record, and we'll go ahead and get started on our edit. All right, so our image right now is a little flat, so we're going to go ahead and make the image pop just a little bit by adding a tone curve adjustment layer. And don't worry about this. We're going to learn about adjustment layers in more detail in an upcoming section. So I'm going to create what is known in the editing world as an S-curve. And again, you're going to learn about this in an upcoming lesson. And basically, I'm just going to click here, drag this up, and then I'm going to come over here and drag this part down. And that adds some contrast to our image. And as you can see, the image is already popping more than it did before. If I turn this layer off, you can see the before. And then if I turn it back on, we can see the after. So it's definitely popping a lot more than it did before. All right, so that's all we're really going to do for now. We're not going to go into a full detailed edit for this image. I just wanted to make the image pop. And now that we have, what we have to do is we have to tell Photoshop to stop recording our action. Because if you don't turn it off, as you continue working on other images, it's going to keep recording everything that you're doing in Photoshop. So make sure you turn off your action once you're done with all the editing steps that you want to do. And then to stop it, you're just going to come down here and click on this little icon right here, and that tells Photoshop to stop recording. All right, let's take a look at the actions that were recorded during the process of editing. So here we can see that we added a tone curve, and then we can see an action that says turn off the layer, and then another one that says turn it on, and that was basically when I was showing you the before and after. So again, it's recording all the steps that I'm doing within Photoshop. And those two steps are something that we really don't need for this action. So we can actually take these two items and delete them by selecting them and clicking on our little trash icon, or you can just drag it down there. Either way works. So let's go ahead and delete those because we really don't need them. Or the other thing we can do, I'm going to go ahead and undo that with Command or Control and the letter Z to get those back. The other thing we can do is we can actually put little check marks right next to that recorded item. And that lets Photoshop know to skip those actions, and it's not going to play those when you play back the action. But personally, I really don't think we need them, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete them again. All right, so that's it. That's how you create an action. So in the next lesson, I'm going to share with you some other tips on how to run this action on an individual image, as well as how to batch process a folder of images. So it's not going to take 15 minutes. Like I said, we can actually do this within a matter of minutes or seconds, depending on how many images are in that folder. So I hope you're excited about that, and we're going to get started on that in the next lesson.